I've often said I wish I bought Bitcoin more. I wish I held Bitcoin more. I wish I just stayed in that because it's more stable and it's better for my heart rate. But if you're in altcoins right now, you can get massively rewarded if you're buying certain key levels. Everything went a bit wild over the last, 3 or 4 days. Bull market volatility is one word, buy the fear is another word, and is this the dip that we should be buying? Gaz, what's your thoughts?
Uh, it was a pretty wild weekend. Started off with a bit of a sell-off on Friday, and then it got worse on Saturday, and then it got even worse on Sunday.
And then
And then
Monday morning, ooh,
Monday morning was the sort of final capitulation, where I mean some things were down about 50% from where they were on Friday, uh, and then the US market opened on Monday afternoon, and everything just shot straight back up.
I don't know.
The recovery on pretty much everything was incredible.
I think I saw that Ethereum was down 37% in a 60-hour period, and then it
Mm.
bounced. And I think a lot of altcoins bounce as well. And that's what's scary is, you don't want to be like that person to go buy the dip, but psychologically, wow, it's like welcome to the cryptocurrency industry if you've never been in it before. But even this morning, as we're recording this on Tuesday. We recovered yesterday over the course of Monday. It's like pretty impressive. If you went long or tried a little relief bounce, fair, well played. If you learned that from us, crack on. But
Yeah,
it's risky.
the only problem was that the bottom was at 2 o'clock in the morning UK time.
Yeah,
So by the time everyone woke up at like 7, 8 o'clock, everything was already up like 10%.
I know. And then it went even higher. And
Yeah,
then we slept. And this morning, it's back in the gutter again on a lot of altcoins. Like, basically, Asia don't like altcoins, right? It's like, whoa. And that can come to like the news of obviously maybe tariffs spooking the market. And we know that some of them tariffs have been frozen now from Donald Trump. But we've also got the fact that Japanese interest rates are higher now. Are people getting spooked like they did in August and July
mm.
time with the carry trade issue? So there's so many factors, and the liquidity just went right out of crypto. It's gone into Bitcoin, essentially, or kept in Bitcoin. Bitcoin dominances went, whoa, hello. We're right up into the silly levels. And then people are getting a little bit fearful, so to speak. So yeah, it reminds me of like past times. We often say that liquidations are often the last boss. We had a lot of liquidations, which I think we should really talk about liquidations because I think people got
The
rattled hard.
10 billion or something.
It was a
Yeah,
lot.
there's
I
been a
mean,
bit of an issue with transparency, isn't there?
yeah, there's been a lot of talk about this. So on the screen, I'm going to put it up there briefly. Certainly, we've got 2.2 billion wiped out. That's according to the news and the data. But a lot of well, I'll say a lot. I think the founder of Bybit has came out and said, well, actually, we think it's a lot more than that. And I think it was a lot
Mm.
more than that as well, because 2.2 billion in terms of the size of the industry now versus what it was, say, you know, FTX sort of crash or COVID crash was similar sort of numbers. And that's the difference. This market, in terms of monetary value, is much higher. So it's going to have a bigger wipeout effect. And yeah, 2.2 billion sounds like a lot, but when you think about well, I won't say multi trillion, but it's into the trillions now of the entire industry, including the ETFs, including all the other stuff around it. There's a lot of money floating around. And I think you'd think 2.2 is probably low. Maybe 10, maybe 12 potentially. And we are talking about a lot of trades getting liquidated. And it happens, right? This is why markets move. It's fear essentially. So we have to be very, very, very mindful of what happens next in terms of the bounce and try not to get too, well, caught up in it, so to speak. Because if you start gambling and going high on the leverage, it's silly. But late longs always get punished and late shorts always get punished as well. And what we're going to see is, well, that candle, the late longs got punished and late shorts have jumped on it and it's probably got liquidated the other way as well. So that was the data from Sunday night, by the way. I don't even know what this morning is going to be like in terms of what's been happening. So yeah, there's been a lot of liquidations and a lot of exchanges getting fed pretty well, I think.
Yeah, it's crazy that people who were short still managed to get liquidated over the weekend.
Oh,
That's mad.
I know. Imagine it. It's just tail of the tape, isn't it? It's just like market makers went, nope, we're going this way, which is pretty
Yeah, the
wild.
problem you have is when there is global stuff going on or macroeconomic stuff like the Trump tariffs and stuff like that, because the traditional markets aren't open over the weekend, people are often liquidating, or if they think bad things are going to happen in the following week, they'll sell off crypto first, because it's
It's
open
liquid.
24/7. So
It's yeah. We've seen this before in the past, and we don't like to go about war stories and stuff, but you see it before. Like with COVID, saw it. We saw it with other events as well, where all of a sudden liquidity just goes whoop out. Oh God, why? It's access. It's the
yeah,
most liquid market on the planet, so to speak, because you don't have that authorization where you're going to go, oh, but there's no banker wanker in there to kind of sign this off, and then it takes like a couple of days to get sanctioned. If you're in the traditional markets, you'll know this. It takes you 2 or 3 days to get your money out of the bloody out of your ISA or out of anything really. So that's what's mad, and that's why it's brilliant, but also a hindrance at the same time. And the 24/7 market, as I say, you know, can work against you. And on a Sunday night or a Saturday evening or whatever, and something goes shit south quickly, oh, problem. And that's where we get these issues, and it's people don't like it realistically. So one thing that is kind of important here, we've got to look at the fear and greed. I know it's a wishy-washy indicator, but we all talk about it, and currently at 45, which I find baffling. But yesterday it was at like 39, as you can see here, 39. So yeah,
which
I would like to know
is
your
pretty
opinion on
high.
fear and greed. I think it's pretty high too. I don't want to share it for too long, but I think it's pretty impressive that we've dropped so much in terms of altcoins. Let's be honest here. Like some of the altcoins that I hold are down a lot. Like I'm squelching right now. I'm in wet waters. And when we talk about like from December, let's talk about December. Jerome Powell comes on stage and goes, "Oh, we're not going to do any more rate cuts for a while. Well, we're going to do some, but not as many as we first thought." And then it's like, "Oh, Christmas is cancelled." Some altcoins are down 60, 70% since that period. It's like, oh, that's not good.
And that's
And even
literally only
today,
2 months ago.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like today, tomorrow, yesterday, whatever, they're still down badly. And we often get on comments. Feel free to comment, like, and whatever the video, but we often get told you're very bearish, and then we're like, are we? Are we just being honest? I'd rather be honest than bearish, and like, you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather tell you as it is, and I think that's what's quite scary. Is I think the fear is kicking in, but we need to talk and revert this around certain things, right? This, in terms of mania cycles, happens. We often get this, and we'll do the technical analysis in a bit, so stick around, of course. But we often get these little shakeouts that are pretty brutal. You got to remember, Donald Trump's coming to office, tariffs are in, certain things are going to change. People don't like it. Markets don't like uncertainty. Until things are ironed out, it'll be fine. But we've talked about this many times before. Bull markets have this volatility. And the one thing that Trump brings us, and the stock market showing that now, is volatility. The VIX is up high. The dollar is, going higher. Tariffs are getting set, whatever. What if Donald Trump is going to rug the dollar, and then the dollar is going to drop and we're going to start seeing some money flow, so to speak? And that could lead, say, altcoins catching bids. And this is why I would say to people, the longer you're in the market, the more you understand, the easier it becomes. And ultimately, yes, the more you know. We have courses on this, trends, metrics, how to get in, how to get out, dominance, all that kind of stuff, right? It's important. But people trying to hit and hope and looking for home runs is not going to, I don't think, cut it anymore, nowhere near in this market. And I think that's a vital lesson. So, yeah, guys, let me know if I wouldn't say right or wrong, but in terms of like, we've been in the market the similar sort of ish time. How many times have you seen stuff like this and it actually works out to be totally fine?
Oh, quite a few,
Yeah.
quite a few. I mean, yeah, the scariest one was probably COVID,
Yeah.
because it genuinely felt like the world was coming to what it did, it came to a standstill and a halt. Whereas this, like, I mean, it's all a bit the Trump tariffs. I don't know. It's like what we spoke about last week, where the news is always blamed for the price action,
Hmm.
and it does seem like a bit of an overreaction to these tariffs, and especially with how quickly they've sort of been resolved for now. Anyway, they've been resolved. I think the market is just very skittish at the moment. Um,
I think that too.
yeah,
It's
we're in around that 100K area, and it's like obviously we couldn't get past 110, and 90K is like a really solid support. But if that gets that's been tested a number of times, so I think it's one of those where if we break out of this range, whether it's above 110 or below 90, is going to be a very violent move. And so the emotion of getting chopped up within the range is what's getting people. because everyone wants to be positioned for that big break, whether it's to the upside
Yeah.
or to the downside. So people are FOMOing in when it looks like we're going to break out, and FOMOing out, or trying to short um, when it looks like we're going to break 90k, and
Yeah.
neither's been happening.
It's it is that meme. It's that circle meme of like, we're back, we're not, we're back, we're not.
We're not,
It's
yeah.
like it's like a traffic light. It's just on off on off. It's constant. And we talk about volatility in Bitcoin. It's actually getting less and less. And hold on, I could put that on the screen actually very very quickly, because I think people forget about stuff like this. I just saw this morning, and it's a Bitcoin's market cap with the volatility over time decreasing, which is pretty impressive considering. So that kind of makes sense, obviously, but people don't like that. And that doesn't mean that, Bitcoin's going to not go to certain key levels. But when we talk about altcoins, it's chalk and cheese, and like people don't like that. And I've often said, I wish I bought Bitcoin more. I wish I held Bitcoin more. I wish I just stayed in that because it's more stable and it's better for my heart rate. But if you're in altcoins right now, you can get massively rewarded if you're buying certain key levels. And we'll do TA, and we'll talk about Ethereum. We'll talk about a lot of things, but they've hit key levels. And we're not talking about like, oh, it's just a key level. We're talking COVID times. We're talking 2020, 2021 times. It's like, okay, we've reverted all the way back. Is that now the time that things are going to start changing? And maybe it might do. But, we talk about, obviously, yeah, blame the news. We've got two big news events that's just happened, right? Japan, highest interest rate since 17 years. That's a big thing. Japan is a big key player in the market, why the dollar does its thing. The difference is, obviously, we're 17 years later, cryptocurrency has become a thing. It's obviously different. Tariffs, Trump. Uncertainty, Trump. Let's see what he's going to do. Borders, what's going to happen there? There's all kinds of factors here. And I think you're right. Markets, skittish. They don't like uncertainty. Once things are all ironed out, probably be absolutely fine. But again, as I say, we've seen this many times. But if you look at the Bitcoin chart, or even the total market cap chart, and look at the entire crypto industry, for example, or the S&P 500, you always get these big, horrible, nasty corrections that kind of do shake people out, but sometimes they don't, and people just stay thick with it, and it works out weirdly, which is absolutely brilliant, to be fair. So, in terms of Bitcoin volatility, this is a weekly time frame. The candle that you are presented with is a bit wishy-washy. 3-day time frame, yeah. Daily, oh god, right in this little box, which is pretty impressive considering. But that is a humdinger of a range. Let's be honest. So yeah, in terms of the volatility, I've talked about this a number of times. Bitcoin is literally, I like to go high and then I like to stop and rest. Basically, it likes to sprint. Put it that way. So shoots sideways, shoots mess, shoots another mess. Right? We don't like this messy stuff, because what's happening with this mess is creating the altcoins to have that horrendous volatility, which is problems. Basically, Bitcoin goes down 2 or 3%, your altcoins go down by 10. It's like, what? So yeah, it's not looking great. But I talked about some key levels before. This is the Ethereum side of the chain. BTC, Ethereum, right? As you can see, we went right into the box, and we are talking 2020, sort of even 2018 levels. It's like, ooh, that's history. Not looking good. And we have literally pulled back. And as you can see here, this is a little bit of a projection if you're going from current live prices. If we're going to go and retrace the numbers up to like certain points and whatever, yeah, Ethereum might well do well. It might well gain you some Bitcoin. But realistically, it's a bit of a washed chart, so to speak. And, you can look at so many things. There's so many ways to skin a cat these days. But that's the Ethereum dominance. It's not looking great. As you can see, all the markers, even on our own indicator, if you can get it on Traders Lounge, is just showing signs of absolute horrendous death. And that's where we are. It's like, is Ethereum the king to the castle for alt seasons? And we talk about the Bitcoin dominance here, going higher and higher and higher. Where is this going to stop? What's it going to do? Is it going to turn around? We're in a situation where we both said it, we both agreed on it. If you've got a big jug of water and you've got 12 cups on your table, how much water is going to go into them cups? Probably quite a lot. But when you fast forward now into this cycle, it's like having a jug with 1,000 cups. There's only going to be a little bit of water going in each of those cups, isn't there? That's kind of what it feels like with altcoins and alt seasons. So, yeah, this isn't looking great, but again, we could be literally talking about altcoin capitulation here, where things will rotate. This has happened many times before in terms of previous histories where we have spike ups and boom. And again, the final bit I want to talk about, and I'll get your opinion on a lot of this, is obviously the dollar. The dollar is still relatively high in terms of its parity number, which is 100, by the way, if anyone's wondering. We need to come back. If that comes back, it might be good, but the volatility everywhere is crazy. And I've mentioned it before. The VIX is traditionally quite low, has been for a long, long time. We've been floating around here for much, much higher for a while now. So stuff's happening. Certainly interesting. I don't want to go too deep on the technicals, but certainly, as you've alluded to, at this level here is strong. But what if we go down even lower? Oof, that's going to stink a
Well,
lot.
there's a lot of air between 90k and what 70, isn't there? And that's what I mean about the emotions. Like when we get down towards 90k, everyone wants to like get out, sell short just in case that breakdown comes. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
I think it's a bit dirty at the minute, the price action. It's not perfect. It could be a lot better for obvious reasons. There's stuff happening, and yeah, it's just a bit rough. It reminds me of a typical bull cycle, but the difference is with this one is the fact that altcoins have got very little traction. Even the BTC pair of what do you call it, of Ethereum is still slight. It's like previous cycle, I've showed it before. We're creating these little higher highs and higher lows in the BTC pair. It's like it was slowly, slowly trickling, but right, no, today, death. But yeah, it's just the way it is. It's absolutely wild, and I think that skittish nature has made it interesting. But if you were to give anyone advice, what would it be in terms of buying? Right, what would you do in this situation? Because I think a lot of people, I'll give you my first pointer for this, is people need to just look at what they've got and go from there. And I think people forget that, and I think people panic. So yeah, let me know what would you do right now? Like if you're thinking, right, let's go, what would you do?
Buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, other than that, obviously. I think yeah, I think a lot of people regret that. Don't, people don't hold enough Bitcoin. But for me, it
I
would
think
be redo your research and just see what's happening. Because
yeah,
some of your assets, yeah, they may look horrendous in the BTC pair, they may look horrendous in USD, but you got to think, well, there must have been a reason why you bought that in the first place. Why did you buy it, sort of thing.
yeah, and then just look for some key levels and just be prepared that you might lose that as well.
I mean, I remember back
There's-
in the previous cycle buying Cardano at 3 cents, and I'm thinking, there's a reason why I bought it in 2017. I'm buying it again. It was on its ass, and it did very well. What's funny is the Satoshi value of Cardano now is very similar to what it was at 5 cents. That shows you how powerful Bitcoin is.
mm,
It's like, oh wow, that's pretty impressive. Whether that's going to take us up to $5, $6, $7, $8 if you buy again, I don't know. But at the end of the day, you got to look at the facts here. There's a reason why you bought an altcoin. You need to redo your research and then look to see what levels are possibility. If you're buying in BTC, fair enough. But for me, I'm pretty attached to my Bitcoin. So, guys, in terms of predictions, I'll give you
mm.
two predictions actually. Right. Firstly, what do you think is going to come first? $120,000 Bitcoin or $80,000 Bitcoin?
Uh, I'm gonna go. I think we might have one more scare. We might get 80,000.
Oof. Yeah, laws of averages levels are always respected in a way, so that'll be interesting. I think I think we want to go to all time high again and retest that. Personally, I just got a feeling like Bitcoin's powerful. ETFs didn't do much yesterday, but another prediction could be: what about Ethereum? Is that big red box, the 2018, 2019, 2020 level, is that the bottom for Ethereum BTC?
I think so.
It's got to be,
I
surely.
think
Come
so.
on.
But then at the same time, though, I don't think that it necessarily means it's then going to go on some huge parabolic rally.
Sideways for 6 months.
Yeah, like it could have a decent bounce. Like it might do like a 30, 40, 50%. but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to do what it's done in previous cycles. I think the main issue is the monetary policy at the moment. We're still under quantitative tightening. If that
Yeah,
changes and then we go into quantitative easing, then you'll probably see ETH have a massive rally. So it's all dependent on that, really.
I know. And you can compare Solana. Solana's a random one, right? Because that's gone sideways for like 2 years. And people think it's an amazing USD. It has, but that's because of Bitcoin. It's just held its value in BTC, whereas Ethereum's on the opposite, which is why it's pretty. I think why people are probably more scared. But yeah, what if, as I say before, Donald Trump, tariffs, dollars high, influence is high, rug 'em, dilute it, off we go. Maybe that could be the perfect scenario potentially, but let's be honest here. Liquidity is in crypto and has been sucked out until it gets returned. It could
Mm.
be a very volatile period, especially if you're trading. So be mindful.